Welcome to the state of PA football as PA Football News presents its weekly look at high school football across the state.
Don't wanna sleep in, cause I got something to prove. I gotta take what I hate and finally make a move. I think of you and all the shit you don't do. Well, I'ma make hella sure that I don't become you. Have no regrets, yeah, I'll tie up my chest. I'll never forget what it's like to be in.
Did you know there are 555 total high school football programs in the state? Did you also know there are a total of 58 college programs ranging from D1 to D3 in the state of Pennsylvania? Whether you're a bulldog, a lion, a crusader, an eagle, or a millionaire, we got you covered.
And you already know, turn that to gains, let my money show. I've got these things that I can't let go. Watch me turn this life into something that you can never own. So fight and die.
Here at PA Football News, we got you covered. And now, your host, Billy Splain.
All right, welcome everybody. It's another edition of the State of PA Football. This week, oh mercy, do we need a new rule? I don't know what's going on. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about playoffs. We're going to talk about the new transfer rules, or I'm sorry, the new success factor rule. So, and then we're going to talk rankings, and we're going to talk about all kind of stuff. Right now, I'm going to introduce my staff, or I'm going to let them introduce. I'm going to let them introduce themselves. So let's start over here to my right elbow, Willie.
I am Will McGonagall. I cover District 1 as well as District 12 for the site.
And then over here to my left, we have a special guest today, my good friend. I'm going to introduce you. My good friend from Linglestown Gazette Sports, Joe Gilloway. How you doing,
Thank
Joe?
you, Billy. Good, man. Always have a great time with you. And if anybody's looking for anything to do, high school football related, Sunday night at 6 o'clock, we have our high school football recap show every Sunday, week 9, this Sunday at 6. Thanks, guys.
You can find that on their Facebook page.
Or YouTube channel.
Or your YouTube channel.
Linglestown Gazette Sports.
There you go. All right, and over here, down in that corner, the bald guy. How you doing, Matt?
Hey, how's it going?
It's rocking, man. Matt the Traveling Man. He's a good guy. Down below me right here, I should actually have him up here because that's where he's from. Up in the north part of the state, Lindsay.
How's it going, Billy? I cover the NTL and a lot of District 4 stuff.
Then over here, down here, this guy right here, there isn't anyone in the northwest corner of the state of PA that doesn't know Shane Lux.
Yeah, that's right. Pretty much turned into the District 10 guy, I guess you could say, and that's what we'll be doing again this week. It'll start in West Virginia, actually, and then I'll get a chance to see McDowell and Steubenville. Looking forward to that one on Friday night, and then back up to Erie for the Saturday games. So, looking forward to it.
Yeah, man, Shane's our guy. He's also you also do District 7, so don't pigeonhole yourself. You're pretty good at that.
And some college games every now and then. So.
Yeah. So anyway, first off, I want to thank all my sponsors. Got to thank my sponsors. Well, let's just start with a few of them. If you look on the screen, down there underneath Shane, you see St. Luke's Sports Medicine. If you need a trainer, if you need something repaired that you hurt while involved in sports, you need St. Luke's. Underneath Lindsay right there, you'll see a thing that says Safer. Safersports.com. You go there, they make a helmet cover that is just superior to anything out there that will help our kids and protect them from concussions. So visit their website. Underneath Matt, you'll see a little FC. That stands for the Funny Zone. They're our number one sponsor on PA Football News. They allow us, and well, they don't allow us, they help us to do what we do, and we help them do what they do, and that's raise money. So if you're a program, if you're a church, league, school, whatever, if you have an organization that needs money, you need to fund these. You can find the addresses to all these sponsors on our website. I don't know what's wrong with my mouth tonight. I'm screwy. But anyway, let's get into it. Hey, Willie, tell me about your weekend, man. Where were you?
On Thursday night, I was at Bishop Sanahan's upset of Downtown West, and then Friday night, I took the trip out to Phoenixville to watch them take on Upper Perkiomen, and then Saturday night, I took in the game from the stands, the USC College game before heading back down to the sidelines for the Unionville Kennett game that was originally supposed to be played on Thursday night, but was canceled due to social media threats. So they finally played it at 8:30 with an 8:30 kickoff on Saturday night, and it was a pretty good game between two bitter rivals.
Awesome. Sounds like a good time, man. How about it? Joe, what'd you do this weekend? Joe, you're muted.
First time I ever muted myself. That'll be the last. I apologize.
Yeah, guys, you don't need to mute yourself. We're all good.
All right, I don't know why. I don't know why I did that.
Yeah.
State College at Central Dauphin East Friday night. Massacre, 55-17. I think State College would beat Central Dauphin East, who came into the game 7-0. I think they beat them 100 times out of 100. I really do. And then Saturday afternoon, Cumberland Valley at Harrisburg. One of the bigger upsets we've ever seen in this area. It really was. Probably the biggest upset I've seen in this area. Well, Dallas last year over McDevitt, but if we're talking Severance Field and Harrisburg, Governor Mifflin, when they came in and beat them in the, I believe it was the 2016 district semifinals, District 3 5A semifinals, and they came in and beat them, I think 28-16. But that was just a horrible loss for Harrisburg, a terrible loss. And that might sound like I'm being not respectful to Cumberland Valley, but Cumberland Valley had 128 total yards, did not convert one first down in the second half. Turnovers were the story. There was essentially 5 turnovers, 4 interceptions, and an 11-yard punt. 11-yard punt is the equivalent of a turnover, let's face it. And Cumberland Valley was able to capitalize on the turnover. So hats off to Josh Oswalt and his guys. Huge win. Probably end up getting them into the postseason. They got to go probably 2-0 in their last 2. They played Chambersburg and Cedar Cliff. Shouldn't be that big of an issue beating those 2 teams, and it could turn their whole season around. And then I'm just going to give you the score of one more game in this area that was pretty big. Trinity 27, West Perry 26. Trinity moves to 8-0. Lost their coach, lost a bunch of really high-end, a D1 player or 2 to other schools.
And just ironically, got better. They lost
and got better
this weekend, while Trinity won.
Right. Well, yeah, it was East High and Harrisburg who they lost their guys to, because Santana Young was a receiver that left Trinity for East High. So yeah, 2 losses, and by transfers, and a big win by Trinity. Trinity's 8-0. And man, I'm happy for them. It's a big deal that they're winning lots of games here.
Harrisburg had a couple of guys who their home team lost or won while they lost. So yeah, very interesting. Matt, how'd your weekend go, man?
Yeah, it was a great weekend. Thursday, I started off at Blue Mountain. I saw North Schuylkill put up an awesome effort that'll definitely help North Schuylkill get into the playoffs and get a nice seed. It was a Luke Miller show. The kid's he's a rocket out there, offense and defense. He was awesome to watch. I saw Wyomissing at Twin Valley Friday night. Great game, District 3. It kind of kicks off that 3-team race between Lampeter, Strasburg, and Twin Valley and Wyomissing. So Wyo got them 34-24, and Wyomissing is solid. Like, they do not make mistakes. That team is so solid. They're just a treat to watch. They're not going to run you up and down the field, but Justice Hardy was on fire. I think he set the school record for all-purpose yards in the game, almost 300 yards. He's awesome to watch. I was also at the Cumberland Valley at Harrisburg game on Saturday afternoon. I just threw that game in there thinking, hey, it's Saturday afternoon, let's go watch a game, and surprise, surprise, you're at an upset. So, those 3 interceptions in the first half by Cumberland Valley turned into 21 points, and that's all they needed. It was great. And then Saturday night, I shot over to Bethlehem, and that was the Peyton Falzone show, man. That kid can sling it. He's going to Virginia Tech. I had seen him play earlier in the year against Freedom, and he wasn't super sharp that night. He was under a lot of pressure. Freedom's a really nice team. But I'll tell you what, man, Peyton Falzone can stick it. That kid can sling it. He can put it on a dime, and he was a pleasure to watch that night.
Spectacular. Lindsay, I know you were at a big game this weekend.
Yeah, I was at Lewisburg at Shamokin. Shamokin, always a great place to go see a game, right in the heart of coal country. It was a good game, typical coal country game, like not a lot of big plays, a lot of 3 yards in a cloud of dust stuff. It was a great experience, and I'm going to follow Shamokin this week. I'm going to go see him play at Loyal Sock and see if they can keep their undefeated record going.
Nice. Shane, you were probably at like 50 games, right?
Yeah, I had 3 this week. It all started kind of right in my backyard. We got a chance to see Butler and Taylor Alderdice. I don't know when the last time I saw a 7-0 football game was, but that's what happened on Thursday night. So it was neat to see Butler and Coach Christie. I remember growing up around the area when he was a quarterback for Butler back in the late 90s. So getting an opportunity to, cover those guys was a lot of fun. And, then Friday night we had a big one with, Clairton and Leechburg. And, my takeaway from that game was kind of what we had assumed all along. Clairton's a state caliber team at the Class A level, very talented. That defense is the real deal. I know they gave up their first touchdown, but by the time that happened, the mercy rule was already into effect. And, Leechburg, I think their quarterback came in over 1,000 yards rushing. I think he had about 800 yards passing. They held him to 1. And by my count, he had 1 yard rushing in that game. Dante Jones or Dante Wright, Jasheer Jones, very nice players for them. They're going to be in it for the long haul. And then on Saturday, got to see a big Division III football game with Grove City and Carnegie Mellon that went right down to the wire like last year, with the Wolverines pulling out a close victory. So it was a fun weekend as always. And, I'll look forward to the upcoming weekend.
What an awesome weekend. And myself, I went to one game this weekend. I went to the Bellefonte and McCourt game. That allowed me to, I was going to go to a different game, but I was looking at my stuff and I'm like, I never covered Bishop McCourt. So I have now officially covered every team that's on the schedule today in District 6, District 5, District 9, District 4, and District 2. I've seen them all. I've almost seen every District 12 team. I only have a couple more to go. So, starting to get up there, trying to catch up to our friend Jason, Psychotic. He's seen a few more games than I have. He's probably seen more than all of us put together. So, he's wild. He's a crazy guy, and he's everywhere. But, boy, McCourt looks like the real deal. We're going to have to keep our eye on them in District 6. They just mowed right over a 4A Bellefonte team, who is they're a pretty good football team, but they were they had no chance. It was all McCourt all night long. So that was an amazing thing to watch. A team that I've never seen. I was happy to see that. So big scores. Anybody have any other big games that surprised them this weekend? How about Shanahan?
Very impressive win for the Shanahan team, going a 4A program, going on the road against a team that in downtown West that we had entering the week at the number 8 and the number 10 ranked team in the state. Go together and piece together one of the greatest drives I've ever seen in a high school football game. A 20-play drive that ate 9 minutes off the clock to win with when their quarterback Ant Aquila taking it in with 16 seconds left to put them ahead and shock pretty much everybody in my side that was not pulling for Sanahan.
That's crazy. That sounds like a play or a drive that Lindsay should have saw at Shamokin.
Mhm.
Yeah, Downingtown West.
It was incredible.
I can't believe
Four
they took
fourth down conversions.
And we're gonna apologize. Like we had some guys tell us, hey, you might have messed up. I agree. We could have brought Shanahan into the rankings. But we're gonna wait till this week. If they beat East, you may see them definitely in our rankings.
Hey, Billy.
But,
Billy, I got a couple games. They weren't my local games, but they were of interest. You asked for of interest. How about LaSalle College 35, Bonner Prendergast 13, and it wasn't even that close. If anybody watched it, I watched it. It was more of like a 30. They scored on the last play of the game, did Bonner Prendy. And what I didn't know, unless they just kind of let this go, is if it's on a running clock situation and you score at the end of the game like that, or they don't give you time to kick the extra point. The team's just walked off the field.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, because the clock ran out, and that's the end of the game.
That's right.
So the game's over. Yeah,
and
that actually happened to me once this year.
I had no idea what was going on. I thought, injuries, scores, touchdowns, field goal, but they just let it go. But anyway, LaSalle College is really good. We watched them. Weren't you there? You were there, yeah. To watch them just dismantle Harrisburg 45-7 in week 1. I call it week 1. And they're the real deal. So, and then Upper St. Clair 14, Bethel Park 10. Beautiful touchdown pass. Anybody see that? 38 seconds left on the clock. The pass was dynamite. The catch was dynamite in the front corner of the end zone. And we talk a lot on my show about how many good 5A schools there are out there in District 7. That's definitely 2 of them. Pine Richland's another. There's like four really top-notch 5A schools. So Upper St. Clair 14, Bethel Park 10.
Yeah, there's actually 5 teams out there that could end up winning the WPIAL in 5A. It's amazing. It's just an incredible conference. It is.
And then Billy, the last thing I wanted to talk about, and I know you like these kind of obscure things, is you and I talked about that Michael Gall. He was ejected for State College. He's arguably their best player because he plays both sides of the ball. Maybe Salazar, but I looked into it a little bit, and there's what's called supplemental disqualification.
So what happened was
okay.
For State College, one of their top players during the game made a big play, celebrated, and got thrown out. Okay, Joe.
But he had 2.
That was his second personal foul.
That was his second personal foul. So where they go from there is it's at least a 1-game suspension. Okay, every single time that happens, you can send them flowers, you can send them chocolate-covered strawberries. The officials or PIAA, you're not getting the suspension cut down to no games. But there's also what's called supplemental disqualification, which is any contestant who is ejected from a contest and a component of the ejection is confronting, contacting, or addressing a coach, using foul or vulgar language, ethnic or racially insensitive comments, or physical contact will be disqualified for 2 games. And that has to come from the game officials. So they decide whether to submit for a supplemental disqualification. They did not. So Michael Gull got 1-game suspension, which is a huge deal because they have Bishop McDevitt, Harrisburg in week 10. But the reason I brought that up is because Billy and I we were kind of throwing that around. We were talking about it, I think Saturday or Sunday, and I'm not, I went and looked into it a little bit more. The game officials, Billy, have to submit for this supplemental disqualification. They submit to, I guess, either the PIAA or the district. They did not do that in the Michael Gall situation, so he gets 1 game rather than 2. Yep.
Yeah, that's good stuff. Thanks for looking into that, though.
Sure. Yep.
Yeah, it's definitely good. Around the state, there were some big games. Hollidaysburg 57, Selinsgrove 14 intrigued me only because for the last couple of years, Selinsgrove has been one of the top teams, and Hollidaysburg has been that 4A or 5A team that it's kind of in no man's land, and they always end up, if they want to play, do they not want to play, whatever. This year, Hollidaysburg is a really good football team, so I think they're going to make some noise. Unfortunately, there was a big matchup coming up in 2 weeks with them and Du Bois, but Du Bois lost, so that kind of took a bummer out of it. Elsewhere, I mean, how about Southern Columbia is struggling, man. I mean, like, there's no way they get through districts, right, Matt?
Right now, I think they're a 6 seed in 2A District 4. They'll probably win their next 2 games, but that's a very young team this year. It just is not going to happen. That little flash that they have where they turn it on in the playoffs, I just don't see it happening this year. And look, it's been 7 straight state titles. It just isn't happening this year. And I'll be the first and probably not the last to tell you, everybody's going to pile on and say what a horrible team they have. And you can go ahead and do it because it's one of the greatest programs in the country. And if you don't recognize it and you're just a hater, that's a bad way to go through life and a bad way to appreciate greatness.
Here's why I brought it up, because in a little bit we're going to be talking about something that you wrote about, which is the success formula. And Southern Columbia is always being accused of recruiting. So, like, I'll hold on to my comment until we talk about that, because I have a comment that we're going to get into. Canevin falls a little short to Fort Cherry, 49-34. What do you think of that one, Shane?
Well, I think it played out probably the way I thought it would. I thought it would be high scoring. Those teams the last couple of years, they've been playing a high scoring brand of football. And, my assumption at the beginning of the year was the 2 best teams in the WPIL Class A were going to be Clairton and Fort Cherry. I think we've seen that up to this point. But Canevin, I think, is a team that is shown. I know the quarterback they have, I forget his name, Cole. It begins with an O. I forget his name. I know he's a good player. I know he can throw the ball all over the field. They're a team that you certainly don't want to overlook in the Class A playoffs. I think they've proven they can score. They can compete with the better teams.
Right.
Can they win? But I think you're looking at really probably Fort Cherry, Clairton. I mean, I've seen Neshannock this year. Maybe Neshannock, they lost to a pretty good 2A Elwood game in the one I was at. But that game didn't surprise me. It was close, and certainly didn't surprise me that it was a high scoring game.
No, me either. Another game, Willie, OJR, man, 42, Methacton 7. What's going on with OJR? They've been in the basement for like the last 10 years.
They are. I know when I spoke to Coach at the media day, Pack Media Day earlier this year, he was very excited for this year's team, and he felt that they had a chance to compete for the Pack title. But right now, he's looking like a prophet. With their only losses to Perkiomen Valley, but they are very easily, possibly could be playing in the 3rd place next week in the Pack crossover matchups for 3rd place in the Pack in the Pioneer Athletic Conference game. And I've seen OJR earlier this season against Great Valley. They have the potential to make some noise in the playoffs. They have a tremendous back named Graham that is something there's a reason that he's getting Division I offers seemingly every single day.
Yeah, he's a good football player. He is. So yeah, big surprise
Graham,
down
yes.
there. Yeah, big surprise. No surprise down that way. Chester, they're just rolling through. One of the best 5A teams in the state of PA.
Oh, without question. And unfortunately for them, the Delville League is not as powerful as it once was. So they are just steamrolling their league opponents week after week. And so, but in a few weeks, they're going to be getting into the tough District 1 5A field, and we're going to see just how powerful they are. Although I do expect them to make a long run in the playoffs.
They lost to Roman Catholic by 4 about 3 or 4 weeks ago.
That's right.
So they proved that they could. Oh yeah, I'm sorry. Thank you. Of course.
Yep.
which is a powerhouse 6A team, really. So they kind of proved that they can. In fact, they were up in that game. I'm sure you know that,
Yep.
guys. They were up like the middle of the fourth quarter, and then Imhotep being Imhotep, they just kind of passed them by and then played some defense. But yeah, it kind of seems like Chester's the real deal. We're going to have Coach Shaw on my show this Sunday, Dennis Shaw, and it looks like he's turned things around.
He's doing good.
He has.
Hey, Joe, let's talk about District 3, man. Is this year Mechanicsburg breaks through and beats could they beat McDevitt?
No.
35-13 over Waynesboro.
I know.
Mechanicsburg and Shippensburg undefeated. What goes on down there, Joe?
Could they beat? Can they beat McDevitt? Yeah, the answer to that is yes. Do I think they will? No. I think McDevitt's kind of underachieving because people are saying, "Oh, they don't have the talent, they don't have the studs, they don't have this." Yes, they do. They really do. They have a lot of really top-notch players. They have great athletes. Maybe the offensive line's a little off from where it is a lot of years. You know that, Billy. But they should still be winning some of these games by a lot more than they are.
They just haven't put it together yet.
They had Central Dauphin was tied with them midway through the third quarter last week. They didn't put the game away until CD kind of made a mistake and did a fake punt on 4th and 2 in the fourth quarter. They failed. McDevitt scored and then took a pick six. Won by 18, but the week before they only beat Altoona by a touchdown.
And they have
Altoona's
East
like 2-6.
They have East this week. See the East, and East is probably a little pissed off from that thumping they took.
They have to be pissed off. So
they took a thumping. Hey, New Oxford down in York. I'll talk about York. New Oxford's a team to watch, and we definitely have to keep our eye on New Oxford. They took out West York. West York was a ranked team on our rankings. 41-14, New Oxford playing really good football right now down in.
And they are ranked number 1 in the 5A power rankings here in District 3. That just doesn't looks like a misprint. With respect to New Oxford, I grew up in this area. You're just not used to seeing like New Oxford on that top line,
Right. And then also in York, interesting matchup this week. Central York plays Archbishop Hoban. I tossed it around, but I think Central York handles that, and I think they'll be okay. So I'm not going to drive all the way to York for a blowout. But
you think Central York handles what? Not getting blown out, or what?
They're going to win that game.
Oh my!
Yep, I think they'll win.
Okay,
that game.
I hope they do. We had on our show, we had Jerry Yanchuk, and he said that they had that open week 9. They had no game to play. He looked high and low, couldn't find anybody that would add them that late, and they found that Archbishop Hoban game. Archbishop Hoban, by the way, they've won 5 state championships in the last 10 seasons. And then on and on, all kinds of other stuff. Their resume is just like kind of disgusting. They've won 124 games in the last 10 seasons. That's 12.5 wins a year. So
they're pretty good. They're pretty good.
And 2 losses this year. 2 losses this year.
Hey, I'm going to bring a guest in right now. I'm going to bring one of our guests in. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, that's all right. That's all right.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the program. He's here. He's famous. He's Hollywood. Welcome to the show, Hollywood. Good to have you here, man.
What's happening?
We're just talking last week's games. What'd you do last week?
Where was I? I was down in Bethlehem twice last week, down at BASD.
Yeah, you were back home.
I was back home. Yes.
Back home, yeah. So, hey, let's talk those games, man.
Yeah, saw a good one there with Easton and Liberty. Easton showing up this year. Going lost only to CB West to start the season. Now, undefeated so far. And they have a big one coming up Friday with Freedom.
That's a huge game. You going to that one?
No, I got.
Do we have that one covered?
Yeah, we have that one.
Okay, good.
Yeah, we got that one. I'm going to Tamaqua to go see Tamaqua and Northwestern Lehigh.
Oh, that should be interesting. Tamaqua took a big dump last week.
Yeah, I don't know what happened there. Lehigh 3 and 4.
Yeah,
beat them up pretty good. I think it was 34-14 or something like that. Yeah, that score.
And I guess we could write Allentown Central Catholic off this way too.
Yeah, they're pretty much done.
Yeah, we can write them off. But hey,
Yeah.
what else going on up in the northern section of the state there, Lindsay? Troy just rolling along.
Troy rolling along. They got Central Mountain this week. They'll mercy rule them by halftime, and then they have the old shoe game at Canton at Troy, I believe it is this year, and they should annihilate them, and they should be on a roll going to the playoffs. They should be really healthy because they haven't really been tested since the Dover game in week 2, I think. And I mean, hopefully the playoffs, they can sharpen their skills and go on a real deep playoff run and maybe make the state finals would be great.
Yeah, Danville on the roll down in District 4. They're still rolling 28-3 over Loyal Sock. Good game there. There weren't I don't know, guys. There weren't a lot of those marquee games last week. There were a few, but not a lot. Bishop Guilfoyle in District 6. They're the class of District 6 in 1A, of course. 46-7 over Chestnut Ridge. Cambria Heights continues to roll. Homer Center, man, 2 years ago, they were playoff contenders, and I don't think they've won a game this year. If they have, it's only one. So Northern Cambria looking good in District 6. Tyrone with a big win. One of the games that I know it's my fault, the guy coming in next, Jason, I sent him to this game, but Aliquippa all over Blackhawk 48-13. So they've got an interesting one. We'll talk about that later on. But, and then we're going to talk about Schuylkill Haven here in a few minutes. But right now, guys, hey, I want to take a break. We're going to go to commercial. And when we come back, we're bringing in a special guest. He goes by the Twitter handle Psychotic. We call him Jason just because he looks like the guy from Friday the 13th. I'm just kidding. He doesn't look like that guy at all. But hey, we'll be right back after these messages from our sponsor.
Today's broadcast of the 38th Annual Leisure Lumber Classic is being brought to you by Snappy's Convenience Store and J.J. Powell Home and Commercial Heating and Supplies. Snappy's is a locally owned chain of convenience stores throughout central Pennsylvania, operating 12 locations from Lewistown to Clearfield and beyond. J.J. Powell has been servicing customers in the Clearfield Center and Mifflin counties for over 70 years. Snappy's has a large selection of freshly prepared food and drinks guaranteed to satisfy your mealtime needs. J.J. Powell offers the area's best heating oil price protection program with monthly payments and no cap or fees.
What's up, State College, Pennsylvania? It's me, Jordan Felice, and I'm so excited because I am heading your way on the Everything Good Tour. We're going to be in your city on November 3rd at Christ Community Church. It's going to be such an amazing night. I'm bringing my friend Joseph O'Brien with me. Go grab your tickets, grab your family, grab everybody. Come hang with us, jordanfelice.com. We'll see you there. 'Cause everything good comes from you.
At PAFootballNews.com, we've got you covered. If you're looking for the best coverage of high school football in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, check out PAFootballNews.com. From schedules to rankings, game coverage to Friday night scoreboard.
Circle W Sports is the complete all-in-one platform for high school sports, designed by former athletes, coaches, and athletic directors. Circle W Sports gives school and team personnel an easier solution to run their entire athletic departments with the help of these features. League Manager makes creating master schedules a breeze. Configure your divisions, build schedules, track league all-stars, and much, much more. Referee Manager helps assign and track game officials in the same platform. And with RefPay, your officials can get paid with within hours instead of days or weeks. Enjoy live scoring and statistical services through our Performance Tracker and Stat Tracker apps. Learn how to track your workout or camp and combine statistics in real time. Then create any type of report after your results are tallied. The Stat Tracker app helps keep your fans involved, whether they are in the stands or at home, with live in-game stats. For more information, visit CircleWSports.com, the official online platforms of PA Football News and the PSFCA Big 33.
My name is Carlos Bradley. I'm a former NFL player and currently chairman of Safer Sports. What is Safer Sports? We are a soft shell technology company. Our product, the Safer Helmet Cover, has been tested at Virginia Tech Helmet Lab and is proven to reduce the risk of concussion by as much as 77%. So if you have a youth league, a high school or college, and you want to be safer, get in touch with safersports.com.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Michael Sikorsky from the Funding Zone, the #1 fundraising company in the state of Pennsylvania. If you need help raising funds for your program, please contact us at 570-885-0900. Thank you.
Yeah, go route. It's been phenomenal. I think just the ability when you got guys from all over the state and everyone's got things going on and trying to get organized and practice. Taking the language out of the offense and just giving these guys the ability to just go and learn on the fly from it. For my first experience.
The Cobalt Plus headset system delivers proven performance along with more users, more flexibility. That's why coaches across Pennsylvania trust Cobalt Plus. CoachCom makes tough headset systems for tough teams. We build headsets to help teams win. Call or click to learn more about Cobalt Plus from the proven leader in football communications.
I would recommend becoming an official because you can feel like you're a part of a sport that you love.
We officiate for the athletes and for the sport that we love, and so as long as you keep them first, then it's going to be a great experience.
So the money I've made from officiating for the past few years, I've put all that money into savings to pay to finish my college education. In 6 months when I complete that, I will not be in any debt.
Officiating the state championship and getting that call to officiate the state championship was an emotional thing for me, just because of what I've been through, the ups and downs, and getting that call really meant a lot to me. Sometimes I see student athletes that I officiated years and years and years ago, and they say, "Man, you did a great job. Thanks for everything you've done."
Welcome to the state of P.
All right, welcome back. Here we are at the state of PA football. You can't see him, but he's there. He's having trouble with his camera. Psychotic. So, guys, we brought this topic up in our chat the other night. Friday night, we got a little message from one of our people, one of our interns, and she said, "Hey, Schuylkill Haven's up 69-0 at halftime." So we got to chatting, and the reason we brought Jason and Psychotic is because he travels all over the country, so he knows a lot of the rules. Well, he probably knows every rule in every state. But I done the math, as they say, and this year, as of right now, this week, 91 games have been decided by at least 50 points. So we got to talking, and Jason, I remember having a conversation with him, and he was telling us about 2 states in the country that do a 50 run or a 50 point. I keep saying run. A 50-point rule where the game is just over, and that's it. So, with that being said, what's the solution? Because that's a lot. That's a lot of games. I mean, like, you've got 63-6, 76-13, 66-14, 63-0, 63-0. That's 2 games. I mean, 70-0. The Schuylkill Haven game that ended up like 81-7, or yeah, 81-6. That was a walk off. They got a walk off, Joe. So it was 81. It was 81
Nice.
nothing, and they got a walk off. So how do we stop this? What do we do? They modified the rules this year, and talking to Ray Kligner, he's a referee that I know in this area down District 6. Basically, when you hit 35, this year the clock's only they're only supposed to stop it on an official timeout. So that would be like an injury, a change of possession, a score, or timeout. How do we fix this so there's not 91 games like that?
Well, personally, for me, I've seen over 1,500 games. There's nothing good that happens after a team's up by 50. Teams just go through the motions. The team that's losing tends to have kind of hard to call it emotional issues, but they definitely start to take it hard. Sometimes they lash out. Sometimes they just give up. Nothing good happens by throwing a bunch of backups in when you're down 50. Even if they score, no one's proud of that. And if you're leading by 50, no one's proud of scoring after that. And if you give up so you don't score, that to me is a bigger insult to the team that you're beating than to just score the touchdown.
Right. You're right about that. That's a great point.
And I know up here in Troy, like when they hit the mercy rule, they put the JVs in, and the JVs like literally get half the season of varsity as practice for the following year when they become the varsity. I mean, when you're getting beat 40-something to 0, you throw your JVs in on both sides, it just becomes a heralded JV, a big JV game under the lights, I think,
and it has no bearing on the way the varsity first team played.
No, in fact, I think it deters them a little bit because like Troy's varsity only gets to play a half for majority of the season. So sure, it keeps them healthy, but like they're missing out on a lot of experience, and a lot of the kids get pissed off because they want to play the whole game.
Yeah, so I was talking to Mike Farr. Schuylkill Haven has 4 victories of that type this year. Let me just give a quick rundown. Schuylkill Haven leads the way with 4. In District 11, there are 3 teams that have done this multiple times. Nativity BVM and Parkland are also guilty of that. Sharon and Hickory in District 10 each have 2. And these numbers kind of surprised me. Central Clarion has 3. Clareton has 3. Hickory, Imhotep have 2. Steelton, Westinghouse, Wyoming area. Karn City has 3. On the other side of the coin, Fairfield, who we know they folded, so they have 2 of those games. Renaissance Academy 3, Greater Nanticoke 2, Midwest 2, Pine Grove 2, Springdale has been destroyed 3 times. So that's the breakdown for the multiple times. So it's not one team that's doing it, except for in this case, Schuylkill Haven. But Mike Farr was telling me, to your point, Lindsay, his kids get upset, just like you were saying. He's looking at his numbers. He doesn't even care. Like during the game, he's like oblivious. He said most of us coaches, we're oblivious to the score unless we're on the other end of it. He said, I'll get in that locker room at halftime, and they'll be like, yeah, we're up 50-14. And he'll be like, really? I don't know. And then so then he has to pretend that he knows and he knew, and he has to figure it out. Right now, his second and third string have more time than his first stringers.
And I think Troy probably has close to the same deal because they've mercy ruled every team but one, I believe. I know last year they had every one was a mercy rule by halftime. Like that's great for the following year, but this year and the fans watching, it's kind of, I mean, it's like beating a dead horse out there, you know?
Well, the thing about it is the NFHS instituted the mercy rules, not necessarily for, to make teams feel better for getting their butts kicked. They instituted it as a safety rule. Once you're up 35-0 in the second half, the odds of you being able to come back is approaching 0. 50 points, nobody's ever come back from that. So that's the logic that New Mexico and South Dakota use for the 50-point sudden death mercy rule. If you lead by 50 in the second half or at halftime, the game just ends because nothing good can happen after that. The losing team is not going to win. The winning team is just going to throw bodies out there who may not be capable or willing, or just you wind up with fights
or you have
play.
A coach who is trying to pad somebody's numbers, so they come out in the second half and start throwing bombs.
Yeah,
it goes both ways.
And then the reverse of that is they just run three downs into the line with a couple of third stringers and then punt. What kind of game is that? Nobody's getting any kind of experience doing that.
Yeah, a lot of people don't understand it. Like Mike Farr was telling me from Schuylkill Haven, he said in the second half, every time they scored, they took a knee on the extra point. They didn't even try it.
That's demoralizing for everybody involved.
Right. And that was my point. So Mike Farr
that
was actually
to me is a bigger insult to have a team kneel on a potential point just to make it look better to the losing team.
So I have a solution. We don't stop the clock, except for injury. Once you hit 50, if you're up, if it's 35-0, let's play the game like we normally would with the normal mercy rule rules. You hit 50, the clock rolls, and it doesn't stop.
I will say this, Billy. I have seen a number of schools in my neck of the woods. That's exactly what they do anyway. The clock never stops. They stop it maybe if a team calls a timeout, which rarely happens. They let it run through injury. They let it run through change of possession. A lot of schools are already doing that anyway. Now,
so let's make it a rule.
Yeah, I mean, I have a number of comments, but I'm not gonna say them all here because I want to keep this shorter. But the one thing I will say is, a lot of this we all know does come back to the transfers. It does come back to the creation of the super team. And this doesn't exist as much in rural areas. We do see this more usually in, bigger cities where it's easier to kind of go from school district to school district. I can say that because you look at like Allegheny County in Pittsburgh, they have what? Like, I don't know what the exact number of schools is, but it's a lot. You look at like where I am in Butler County, we have what? We have 6 or 7 public school districts. The district I live in, we have 8,000 people living in it. We have 152 square acres or square miles. So what I would suggest is this, and I've always said this. I said you cannot just come out and condemn the private schools because they get players. I said I've always said if you're gonna do this, then we have to call out the public schools that are doing the same thing. Number one, the public schools have to be called out as well because people will say, "Oh, well, look, another private school won a state title." How often, and this isn't just in Pennsylvania, this is all Jason knows this is in all states. And it's in all sports too. When you're seeing schools win state championships, when they're public, they tend to be the same schools as well. There's a reason why that's the case. I mean, and again, for people who know me, I try to be very neutral on all positions because I understand both sides. I understand there's arguments on both sides, but the transfer issue has been the bigger deal. Now, what you're seeing in a lot of more rural communities, places like what you're seeing in Troy, what you're seeing in, with Central Clarion and some of these other teams is you get a dominant team and you have a bunch of other really small schools that, quite frankly, and again, this is going to be controversial and I'm trying to say this, maybe in the most politically correct way, but you have a lot of schools where they take football very seriously. And then there's other schools that winning football games just isn't that important. And I think in the case of like a Central Clarion, if you come into the season, like Central Clarion scheduled Butler, right? They scheduled out the final week of the season because they want to play a school that's going to allow them to play a 4-quarter game. My argument for a number of years is
been this. We know that, like, number one, if you're a school that's bad and you're a school that's getting, you know, pretty much like I live in Montauk's district, right? I went to Montauk. Montauk's not going to win a game this year. Okay, they've been mercy rolled in I think every game but one. If you're like, again, there comes not every school you're playing is getting transfers and is, you know, quote unquote recruiting. That's the first thing. And when it comes to, and this is why I've always had mixed emotions about the mercy clock, because while I agree with everything Jason's saying and a lot of other people, I also understand the other side of it. And people will say, there comes a point when you got to grow a pair and you got to stop the other team and you got to make some plays on offense. There comes a point when that has to happen as well, because what kind of message are you sending to, because we always talk about this, sports is an extension of life. What kind of message are you sending to people if you're saying, you know, when the going gets tough, we're just going to quit? We're going to forfeit the game. We're going to throw in the towel. We're going to end the game. What kind of character are in examples are you setting for kids moving forward as well? And this leads me into my next point, because I know the other side of it. People will say, well, if you have a super team on one end that's bigger, faster, stronger, they have no chance. Why don't we let schools, smaller schools, or even bigger schools that we know are going to struggle each year, why don't we allow them to all play each other? And why don't we allow the better schools? And I'm not saying that we have to take the 10 best teams in the state or 11 best teams in the state and put them all in one conference to where one of them goes 2-8. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying, why don't we allow, like, why not, you know, allow Central Clarion to play Troy during the regular season? You know what? Why not allow a situation like that happening? Like you see with some of the private schools, like you look at, you know, I'll be covering McDowell next or on Friday night. You know, they're playing teams from New York. They're playing teams from Pennsylvania. They're playing teams from Ohio. They want to get those tough games every week if they can. Why not allow teams that want to do that? Why not give them the opportunity than playing these games where they're just going to pad stats and score 70 plus points? If you're a team like Summit Academy, why can't they, you know, play a team like Sheffield? Why can't Union City, you know, play a team like Bucktail? I mean, if we had this, you would eliminate a lot of that. And again, that then, you know, I understand things like travel become an issue and schools might not want to do it, but there are ways to try to get around this. But number one, when it comes to the transfers issue, you know, you go back 30, 40 years ago, if a team won a game 28-6, that was considered a blowout. That was considered lopsided. Today, a game ends 28-6. We're like, that was a competitive game.
Yeah.
You know, that's not the case anymore. And the demographics have changed too. You know, the demographics also play a big factor. A lot of these communities, you know, people aren't moving, they're moving out. And you're seeing, and then when you add the transfers on top of it and guys just basically leaving schools. And again, the public schools can do it too. Look at things like non-resident tuition. Non-resident tuition is a real thing. My dad went to Northgate High School. He was in the first graduating class of Northgate back in '77. He's the reason they're called the Flames, because he submitted that name because of the old Atlanta Flames in the NHL. And the student body voted that in. But Northgate, I lived up in West Sunbury, north of Butler. And my dad, he could have literally sent us to Northgate if he wanted to, because you could pay a non-resident tuition and send your kids to another school. I said, public schools can do it just like private schools can. It's not that hard. You can even move in with a relative. Some kids are even 18 years old by their senior year. They could legally get an apartment or something. Again, some of this stuff seems far-fetched, but it's not as difficult as you might think. And you have to call out everyone who's doing it. You can't just say, oh, it's the Catholic schools, it's charter schools, because it's not just them. And I'm not going to name any names, but people have an idea who I'm talking about. And I think in general, and this kind of ties into the state tournament too, what I said before about let the schools play each other. When it comes to the state tournament, you want to have, you want to get away from the complaints of blaming 6 classes. You know what? Say we're going to take the top 64 teams in the state, class A through 6A, and anybody can play anyone. We're just going to seed them who we think is the best.
That's basically how Illinois does it.
No Class A teams would ever get in.
Well, the way Illinois does it, there's no classes in the regular season.
I'm saying doing it by class.
Yeah,
okay.
West 64 basketball brackets, Joe. Basketball.
I see. My apologies, Shane. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, this is exactly what happens in West Virginia. I just say this because I got a chance to go down to Wheeling. I know they moved the games to Charleston, but I did the game. I covered a couple of championships in Wheeling Island, and West Virginia went up to 4 classes this year, but they had 3 for the longest time. All they do is they have power rankings based on strength of schedule based on record, and they just seed teams 1 through 16. And they say, look, I don't care if you're in the Northern Panhandle, the Eastern Panhandle, or Southern West Virginia. Anybody could go anywhere. You're 1, you're 2, you're 3, you're 4, up to 16. And that's how they play the bracket. I said, if you want a competitive state tournament in Class 1A through 6A, take the top 32 or 64 teams and have them play in a tournament like that. That'll fix a lot of the complaints people have. But then, of course, the people who just want to complain, well, they'll continue to complain because we won't have the traditional district rivalries.
The problem is the districts.
Yeah.
The districts run everything. They're not going to give it up to the state playoffs.
Yeah,
I agree with you. A statewide playoff, maybe split East-West. Take the 32 in the West, 32 in the East, and do that for each class. Would be a much better playoff.
My point is, if you want to fix a lot of these blowouts and these 0-9 and 2-7 teams that are making the playoffs, that's going to fix it. I understand it. I understand that we're not going to have the districts eliminated, but if you want to have a better state tournament, you have to basically just seed subjectively.
Because I said, we have 91 blowouts right now by 50 or more. In 2 weeks, that'll be 125 because the first 2 rounds of the playoffs are just they just numb my mind. It's just like it's crazy.
Hey, Billy,
and that's real quick. I want to bring
the
something
fact
up real
that-
quick. Jason, you were at a pretty special game this week. I want to let Jason talk about that.
Oh, yeah. Unfortunately, Sheffield, the Wolverines, it appears that they played their last home game on Saturday afternoon. If you've ever got a chance to go up there to see a game at Wolverine Mountain, it's one of the most picturesque places you'll ever see a high school football game in the entire country. It's one of the top 10 for me.
I hope they play a game there.
Yeah, I'm hoping Warren, after they consolidate and stuff, they do. But they already voted once to close the school. I guess they have a second vote that's going to take place in January, and that's the official vote because they have to do 2 votes. More than likely, they're going to vote to close. They're going to close Sheffield. They're going to close Youngsville.
It's a big tip of a cat to Sheffield.
Yeah.
Big tip of a cat.
Yeah,
Thanks for being with us, guys.
They've struggled for years, for decades. They're an extremely small town. They have a co-op with Abraxas, which is a special school for youth that have issues and whatnot. During the COVID year, they didn't have the co-op. They lost, I want to say it was 82-0 at the half.
86-0.
86-0.
That was
Okay, yeah,
Keystone,
Phil
right?
was there. Yeah, Phil was there. They didn't play another game the rest of the COVID season.
Yeah.
Even with Abraxas involved, they struggle. It's just the reality of the size of a school they are and where they are.
Well, let's be honest.
They played.
District 9, Shane, has kind of done what you talked about. They do have a league where the teams say, you know what, we just want to play football. And so you have Buckdale, Cameron County, Sheffield, Countersport, all those teams.
Otto Eldred.
Yeah.
And that's kind of my thinking on it too. Is like I say, Otto Eldred. I mean, what a job Coach Cook has done with the Terrors and them being 7-1. I don't know when the last time that's happened, but I'll tell you what. Like again, you look at the schedule they've played. They have that it's set up where basically they're playing each team twice. Like Otto plays Countersport twice, Sheffield twice.
Well, Willie, that happens down your way too. Renaissance and Bristol.
Yeah.
To show you how another state does it, in New York, they have sections, just like Pennsylvania has districts. Section 6 is the Buffalo area. They decided several years ago, like Class A has A1, A2, A3. They put the best schools into A1, the middle tier schools into A2, the worst of the bunch to go into A3. They only play each other. Now, yeah, the really good school that comes out of A3 that won their division, they're going to get smacked when they make the actual sectional playoffs. But the regular season's entertaining and competitive. They're playing teams like them. Come playoff time, they're going to get smacked.
That's exactly what I was talking about. Because I mean, when you look at a lot of teams like Smithport, Otto Eldred, Cameron County, they're all Kane. They're all pretty close to each other.
Yeah,
and that's part of like why I said if you adopted that within Pennsylvania, you'd have more competitive games, you'd have less blowouts, and a lot of this mercy talk.
Well,
wouldn't
like
really exist.
imagine.
Yeah, but the problem is the districts.
You would
So
have
they're
to
not gonna
fold.
give-
You'd
yeah.
have to fold all the districts.
Well, no, but
There's
even
no
inside
reason
the
for 'em.
districts.
You're right,
Let's look
Joe.
at Lewipio. Imagine if like 1A was Clareton, Bishop Guilfoyle, Our Lady of Sacred Heart,
Fort
What would be
Cherry.
the need for a
the Fort
district?
Cherry. Put them all into one league and have them play against each other. Then you take the next 8 or 9 best, they go into another league. The next 8 or 9 go into the third
How do
league,
you
and then the
determine
rest
that,
just
though?
start playing.
How do you determine that? Who would have known Jefferson Morgan would be undefeated at 8-0 this year?
It would almost have to be like the NFL does it, like for TV games. Oh, these teams are good now. We're going to put them on TV. The PIAA would have to say
You would kind of have to force the coaches and the ADs to get together and seed themselves every season.
And there's
They're
your
not going
problem.
to do that. They're not going to do that.
There's your problem. The
Never
Whitfield won't
will
even
they
do their own schedules. The Whitfield doesn't even do their own schedules. They let the Whitfield, the
Well, we'll see. It wouldn't
conference
be up to the
leaders,
winning
they let
coaches
them
to
take care of
decide.
it because they're so lazy. They don't want to do it.
It would wind up being the coaches that don't want to play the other schools. Basically, it would be a vote of who do you not want to play. The more teams are you don't want to play, they're the higher division.
You know how I agree with you, but that would just be like that's the top of the complex model. So let me read a couple comments here real
Billy.
quick. Go ahead.
Bill, you touched on about Renaissance Academy. I can't help but wonder what's going through their minds. Their next 2 games are home against Morrisville and then at Jenkintown. They played both those teams already this year, and in the first meeting, Morrisville beat them 68-0, and Jenkintown beat them 57-0. What is going through their minds heading into those final 2 games? Again, knowing how they
honestly like. I think also we have a problem, and Joe, you probably agree with this. There are some schools that are trying to hang on to something that they don't need to hang on to.
Well, Billy,
I was going to bring that up too. Yeah.
Our school down here, and Shane was referring to Bishop McDevitt Harrisburg without referring to them by name. And I agree with a lot of what I agree with a lot of what Shane said, but I was nodding when you said, that where you're from, there really isn't schools like that. Well, Bishop McDevitt Harrisburg is like that. And they played in a terrible division, the Mid-Penn Keystone, for 16 years, who would have maybe a Cedar Cliff who was good every now and then, a Susquehanna Township. But Bishop McDevitt would get up 42-0 or 49-0 at half, just about every game. You know that, Billy. Just about every game.
Now, one of the biggest problems is just that we use enrollment to determine what classification schools are in. It's a very poor way to decide who plays who.
There's no way, like Shane said, after a certain point, you got to grow a set. There's no set that's going to be grown big enough when the team that Bishop McDevitt's beating almost every week, their best player would be the 35th best player on McDevitt. Like literally, he wouldn't even be on the second team at McDevitt. And
that's
like,
where you have to draw that.
And I'm not
fine line.
disagreeing with you, Shane. I'm saying I agree with almost everything you said, but that's like pushing a 170-pound weakling into the middle of the ring with Mike Tyson in his prime and go, grow a set, kid.
Right. Well, and that's
so we got a couple comments.
Where do you draw that line?
We got a couple comments I want to read.
Right.
30 years ago, that didn't happen.
Yeah, let me go to these comments. Jim Miller on Facebook, he replied to our article. He said, I think if a team, and this is interesting, if a team is up 50 points at any time in a game, they should pause, record the score as the final score, then allow the teams to play reps without adding points using the clock, unless losing the team chooses to just say, that's it, we're done. It might allow the young guys to get to play and get some reps. Maybe turn it into like a JV game.
While the fans file out en masse.
But they're already
gone. They're
already gone after halftime when the bands are done.
Nothing, and you're still in the stands, dude. You're either mom, dad, or grandma.
So basically, it turns into a scrimmage, and I'm being respectful here.
Yeah.
I just okay.
Well, the other option is don't just call it final. Just say that the winning team, once you're up by 50, touchdowns worth a point. no extra point, and just play. If that's what you want to do,
Okay,
just play
something
out
like
the
that.
game.
DC Mills.
But then you're only worried about the score rather than the actual safety, which is what the NFHS used as their argument to create the mercy rule in the first place.
Right, but you're turning it into something
Pennsylvania
different.
actually
So like,
preceded
what you're
the
doing
NFHS.
is you're saying, okay, we concede. This game is over. Let's have a scrimmage. It takes the danger out of it. It takes the danger. So like the other team's not trying to kill you. Last year in New York, some of the Imhotep players were chanting, "Let's get 100. Let's get 100. Let's get 100." Come on, what good is that, right? DC Mills says he's on the other side. Stop a game at 50-point lead. This ain't Pee Wee football. Down 35 in the second half is fair. Trevor says my local high school hockey league has this rule. When the lead hits 6, it's a running clock and it never stops. When the lead hits 10, the game is over. Kevin,
Kevin on
Twitter,
argument for that.
Kevin on Twitter says, let me finish these comments. He says, how about better schedule? And we talked about that. Get the Parklands of this world versus the Allens. Get rid of all that stuff. Lucella said, games should end after a said 7 touchdown defeat. And Chuck Cease, he's a broadcaster. I think you know him, Brian, over in the Poconos. He just says, no. So those are, the comments are all over the board.
Yeah, well, that's what I said. You're going to get it. You're going to get it from both sides. Everybody's going to have a different opinion on it. But I think one thing that if there's something you can give to bring people closer to the middle, it would be the better competition teams are playing week in and week out, the better the football is going to be, the more exciting it's going to be, the more crowds are going to come back. People are going to be interested in it. People aren't going to be interested in a game when they know the outcome long in advance.
Yeah.
That's just the way it is.
Well, see, here's the thing. Cal Preps is currently trying to create a system for California to get rid of these one-sided games by reseeding how these leagues are decided. But the thing is, these running clock rules, Pennsylvania started theirs, I want to say like 94, 95. It was a long time ago. It was before the NFHS made it like a standard rule. Some states still have not instituted the rule. New York does not have a running clock, which is kind of surprising given this state. You would think they would. West Virginia's doesn't start till the fourth quarter unless it's 45 points at the half. Ohio went for years voting, and every year got voted down. They did not want a running clock. They instituted it as a safety rule and followed the NFHS rule of 30 points, which I consider way too soon to start a running clock. That's less than 4 touchdowns.
But that's
the thing about it is, it's whether it's a safety issue or an ego soothing way of ending a game. Ohio went with a safety rule. They consider it a safety issue that a one-sided game that's 30 points in the second half, no good can come of it. The odds of a team coming back are so inconsequential, it's not worth continuing the game as is, and they just wanted to get it over with as fast as possible. So a 50-point game, nothing's going to happen. The one team already won. There's no way on earth that a team down 50 is going to win. And if that's the case, why even continue to play? When you're playing chess and you got only the king left and you're just moving them around the board, you've lost. You can move the king around 30 more moves. It doesn't mean that you're going to be able to magically win. You are going to lose. And sometimes you just have to concede.
A lot of times coaches, they want reps for their JV team. They want reps for their younger players, guys that are going to be stepping up next year. We've seen teams get whooped one year, have a lot of players come back, and then come back and beat that team the following year.
Yeah, but if you're a winning team and you want reps, then put them in early. If you're a losing team and you want to give the backups reps, put them in early. Don't wait until it's
teams do that. Central Clarion, their starters only play a half of football each game.
Right.
So a lot of this stuff's already going on. And again, if you bring up if you can level out that playing field, level out that competition, at that point, a lot of these problems are going to go away. But the bottom line is you're never going to. And how many times do we see games that we think are going to be competitive? They end up not being competitive. You're never going to fully get that out of the game. So to me, I will say I'm against it saying, well, let's just end the game and let's just quit when a team gets up by 50. Play the game, let the younger kids get in, give them reps. Like I said, I've always had mixed emotions about the mercy clock. It's existed almost my entire life. But the thing is, when if you get to a point where a team like a Troy, like we said, Troy, Central Clarion, some of those Clareton teams from years ago, if you're winning every game by 70, 80 points, let them play tougher games. Because I mean, even the kids that are winning those games, you think they're enjoying it as much as the kids that are getting blown out every game. I mean, at some point they want to have competition as well.
Yeah,
the Emmets have
I
kids that
don't
wanted to
disagree
score
with you,
100.
but the problem is, that would require every league in the state of Pennsylvania to revamp how they do their schedules. That's the biggest problem. And in Pennsylvania, we have a
And it's
district
not
problem.
happening.
It just is not going to happen. So, and that's probably, and I'm sure Jason knows this more than I do. It's probably the same way in many other states where they don't want to give up their power. We don't want to give up, our control and that kind of thing. So
Yeah, there's several states that still have like the districts or sections. Like New York has sections, California has sections.
Right. So you have to find a way to do this,
But
in
a lot of states have
Pennsylvania
given
that
up
helps
the.
it. So, I feel like just roll the clock. And like you said, Shane,
Okay,
some of the
but
teams just
here's
do
one-
it, and
Here's one thing I do want to point out though. When we talk about the districts being an issue, my question becomes: do they have to be? Because here's and I say that, but no. But listen, to what I'm saying. I said the issue with the districts as well is the fact that they're very lopsided. We have you look at District 1, District 3, the WPIL, and then you kind of look at everybody else. What happens if we figure out a way to say, you know what, we're going to try to balance a lot of this out more. We're going to take more teams that, maybe would traditionally be in District 7, move them to 10, maybe teams in the outer skirts of,
so what that would take,
6.
I understand what you're saying. So what that would take is an entire restructuring of the PIAA. They would have to become like what the Ohio governing body is, because basically the PIAA right now is the 12 districts run the PIAA. The PIAA, the guys at Mechanicsburg. Hold on, Jason. The guys in Mechanicsburg, all they are is they're babysitters. They're making sure everybody's playing by the rules. That's all they are. But then, District 3, Joe, they do rules differently than District 6, because I know,
Correct.
Matt Littell talks about all the time. And District 3 will let teams get away with murder.
District 7's on them quick.
And
when
District
it comes
7
to transfers and recruiting. Yeah.
There's that whole thing that's just never going to happen. It's just never going to happen. This is a great discussion. We could probably go on all night, but
I wanted to tell you real fast.
Yeah, go ahead, real quick.
In Ohio, you brought them up. Ohio actually has districts, just like Pennsylvania. They have, I think, 5. The thing that they decided years ago, back in the 70s, when they instituted statewide football playoffs, was the state would control the playoff. The districts have no say in the playoffs.
Yeah, so that's why I'm saying,
in every other sport they do, but not football.
The PIAA would have to restructure right now, because in Ohio they have 5 districts, but in Pennsylvania we have 12. 2 of them have less than 10 people. 2 of them have less than 10 people or teams in the league, and it's ridiculous. We should literally have 10. So. But guys, great discussion. I love this discussion. Hey, let's pay some bills. We'll come back and let's talk about the success formula before we get wrapping this up. Looks like we're going to go long, but that's okay. You guys have anything to do? You want to hang out and talk football? Yeah. So let me pay some bills. Let me talk about some of our sponsors real quick. I definitely want to thank Lingelstown Gazette Sports for sending Joe Gill away. Thanks to them. Joe, when you see them, tell them thank you for me, will you? I want to thank Advanced NIL. In today's world, if you're going to college and you're going to be an athlete, you need to know about what an NIL does and how to get through it. AdvancedNIL.com. Quick Cuts is the alternative to Huddle. You want to be faster with your Huddle. You want to have better film for your players. You want to have less expensive storage. Get a hold of Quick Cut. Want to thank Circle W Sports. Without Ed, we don't do anything. Ed builds our website. He builds many websites out there. He's expanding big time. If you need a website for your conference, for your school, for your church, or whatever, get a hold of Circle W Sports. Definitely got to thank Black Bear Fiber and Center Wisp for being sponsors on our website. They keep me online. They kept me online today. We had a problem. They dealt with it. they kept me online, so we're able to do this. And actually, my internet's a little faster today, so thank you very much, Center Wisp. And I got to thank Coach Com for being there all the time. Definitely want to thank Coach Com for this. Right now, we're running a contest. We've already hidden 4 puzzle pieces. 1 puzzle piece per week. There are 10 puzzle pieces you can find. They're hidden in our articles somewhere. You're going to have to read through our articles and find them. If you find all 10, by the time we get to 10, you win $500 if you're the first person to contact me and show me where they are, courtesy of Coach Com. How about that, Joe? That's pretty cool. Got to thank Parma Pizza. Parma, we got to thank Snappies, and we got to thank JJ Powell for being sponsors. We got to thank Sports Paradise. Kevin, hey, man, I'm wearing the gear right now, man. Nice gear, nice gear. Thanks, Sports Paradise. Team stores, uniforms, parts, pieces, you need it, he's got it. Two Birch Winery up in DuBois, we got to thank them. Definitely, again, we want to thank Safer Sports, and I want to thank all the rest of our sponsors, Funding Zone and St. Luke's. We're going to take a break. We're going to come back, and we're going to talk. Matt, what do you want to talk about when we come back? Which one? Pick one.
We could do the new rules that the PIAA is voting on. That's good. We got some great games coming up this week, too.
Yeah, we'll talk that. Hey, we're going to take a break. We'll be right back after these messages from our sponsor.
I would recommend becoming an official because you can feel like you're a part of a sport that you love.
We officiate for the athletes and for the sport that we love, and so as long as you keep them first, then it's going to be a great experience.
So the money I make from officiating for the past few years, I put all that money into savings to pay to finish my college education. In 6 months, when I complete that, I will not be in any debt.
Officiating the state championship and getting that call to officiate the state championship was an emotional thing for me, just because of what I've been through, you know, the ups and downs, and getting that call really meant a lot to me. Sometimes I see student athletes that I officiated years and years ago, and they say, "Man, you did a great job. Thanks for everything you've done."
My name is Carlos Bradley. I'm a former NFL player and currently chairman of Safer Sports. What is Safer Sports? We are a soft shell technology company. Our product, the Safer helmet cover, has been tested at Virginia Tech Helmet Lab and is proven to reduce the risk of concussion by as much as 77%. So if you have a youth league, a high school or college, and you want to be safer, get in touch with safersports.com.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Michael Sikorsky from the Funding Zone, the #1 fundraising company in the state of Pennsylvania. If you need help raising funds for your program, please contact us at 570-885-0900. Thank you.
Yeah, go route. It's been phenomenal. I think just the ability when you got guys from all over the state and everyone's got things going on and trying to get organized and practice. Taking the language out of the offense and just giving these guys the ability to just go and learn on the fly from it. It's my first experience ever with it, and it's phenomenal. I would certainly use it.
CoachCom is the proven and trusted leader in coaching communications. For over 30 years, we've built our business on innovation and winning, with the goal to equip your team with the best coaching communication available. 97% of all FBS programs and thousands of high schools and colleges across the U.S. choose CoachCom because CoachCom has the experience and the know-how to provide the very best in technology and winning solutions.
Circle W Sports is the complete all-in-one platform for high school sports, designed by former athletes, coaches, and athletic directors. Circle W Sports gives school and team personnel an easier solution to run their entire athletic departments with the help of these features. League Manager makes creating master schedules a breeze. Configure your divisions, build schedules, track league all-stars, and much, much more. Referee Manager helps assign and track game officials in the same platform. And with RefPay, your officials can get paid with within hours instead of days or weeks. Enjoy live scoring and statistical services through our Performance Tracker and Stat Tracker apps. Learn how to track your workout or camp and combine statistics in real time. Then create any type of report after your results are tallied. The Stat Tracker app helps keep your fans involved, whether they are in the stands or at home, with live in-game stats. For more information, visit CircleWSports.com, the official online platforms of PA Football News and the PSFCA Big 33.
All right, we're back. Hey, welcome back to the State of PA Football. I'm Billy Splain, the owner of PAFootballNews.com. We rattled off a pile of sponsors there for a little while, and if you need information on any of the sponsors that we talked about, you can just go to our website, PAFootballNews.com, click on their banner, and it's right there. We have some great sponsors that do some great things, and glad to have you guys here right now. Hey, we could have talked about that all night long, and we did on our Twitter chat the other night. But there's so many solutions and so many broken things in Pennsylvania. I think that's one thing we do all agree on. The way the PIAA is run is broken. We do all agree on that, right?
Yeah, unfortunately, it's very convoluted.
The thing is, nothing you come up with is going to be perfect. But if I could just add one more point, one thing I would say is, why not limit, instead of, you can't do anything about the District's 5, but what you could do is the opponents. Say, you know what? Why are we making all these teams play all these conference games that we know are going to be blowouts? Maybe take 2 or 3 of those conference games out, let them go and schedule somebody competitive. Like EMUTEP, instead of playing John Bartram and MLK, maybe they can go out and play somebody, some big school from even out of state, Jersey or Delaware or something, Maryland. Why not?
Here's the thing, Shane. MOTEP is in the highest division that it goes in the Philadelphia Public League. So what's that saying about saying there?
Let's say what the other thing you're talking about. So, and what we're about to talk about right now. So that ties into what we're going to bring up next. Matt wrote an article, and he covered the new changes that could be voted into action as far as the success factor and the competition formula go. Matt, tell us a little bit about what the PIAA did on a second reading.
Yeah, so it takes 3 readings or 3 votes for any new rules to be enacted by the PIAA. So, these are things that get talked about right after the state finals last year, and now we're on the second reading, soon to be the third reading on these rules. So, the competition formula operates on a 2-year cycle. We're in year 1 of that 2-year cycle now.
Before you go any further, I want to let everyone know, and I'm proud of this, but I'm not proud of what they did to it. We used to be westernpafootball.net. I used to own westernpafootball.net. We have a guy that works for us right now. His name is ProTime. You all know who ProTime is. ProTime went to Indiana one day, and he does like Jason does. He travels around. So ProTime went to Indiana, and he talked to a reporter out there about how they do their classifications. And the reporter told him about this success formula. He brought it back. We wrote it up. We submitted it to the PIAA. They approved it on a first reading and on a second reading. And then during the third reading, they attached transfers to it. Because everybody back then, when they started doing that, was bitching and moaning about transfers and how do we stop it. So the PIAA says, okay, well, here's what we'll do. We'll just tie, the steering committee did. We'll just tie this all together. And that's when they messed it up. Matt.
Indiana has one of the easiest, simplest.
We do too. But they tied
playoff systems.
Yeah, we do too. But they tied the transfers into it, so that messed it all up right there. So Matt, finish up what you were saying.
But not just what class you're in, but their playoffs are. They have to have enough teams at 64 playoff spots for each classification. Everybody makes the playoffs. It's a tournament. It's a random draw. You don't know if you're going to host. You don't know who you're going to play. So nobody opts out of it because you might be 2-8 and you wind up playing a 1-9 team. You have no idea. So nobody opts out like you see in District 10 where everybody just like, no, I don't want to play Farrell. I don't want to play Cathedral Prep. I don't want to play this.
It's opt-out week this week. But anyway, Matt.
It makes it such an easier system and everybody participates and it works. I've seen it work. I've been to their state titles. Their state title games are entertaining, competitive, and none of them seem like they're going to be blowouts in advance because everybody's seated where they should be.
If we had Aliquippa and Emutep in last year's state final.
Yeah, we were hoping for that this year. So anyway, Matt.
Yeah, so the two components to the competitive balance formula are success points, which you earn on the field by advancing through the state tournament, and then, as you said, transfers. And you have to satisfy both of those to be moved up in class. So in the old, we'll call it the old system, assuming this new system is going to pass. The old system, you needed 6 points to satisfy that half of the formula. So you would get 2 points for being in the round of 8, 3 points for being in the final 4, and you would get 4 points for being in the state finals. And it didn't matter if you won or lost in those games, you would get those points. In the new system, they're going to move the success points from 6 to 7 for you to be moved up. Now, this isn't really a huge move. You get 4 points for going to the state final game. It could affect some teams, to be honest. If you follow this closely, there's like 5, 6, 7 teams a year that actually qualify to get moved up. So it's not like out of the 555 teams in the state, that maybe 8 to 9 teams are getting technically moved up, but they also have the transfers too, to make that happen. On the back end of that, and this is where it gets interesting, in the second reading, teams that did not get 3 points over 2 seasons and were moved up in the previous cycle will be moved down. And that's really where the new rule kind of comes into effect. You're not going to get moved if you just, if you lose 10 games, you're not going to get moved down from 3A to 2A. That's not what they're saying. They're saying if you got moved up in the previous cycle because you had the success points and you had the transfers, if you don't get 3 points, you'll get moved down. So I think that's a good rule. It keeps teams, at least that don't get the transfers, it keeps teams from staying up in that higher level. Some other rules that they talked about, the transfer rule used to be 3 or more transfers in a 2-year cycle, in addition to success points, would get you moved up. And now it's 4 transfers. It might affect a few teams, but again, remember, we're talking about 7, 8, 9 teams in the state that this affects every 2 years. So look, teams know how many transfers they have. If you're sitting on 2, you were never going to 3. And if you're sitting on 3, you're not going to be going to 4. If you want to avoid being moved up. So
it just lets
it's
teams make one more phone call, right?
Exactly. It's not a surprise. It is not a surprise when you get called to appeal your PAAA, getting moved up in class, that you had the correct number of transfers. You know exactly what's on your roster.
That's right. I don't disagree. And it's public and it's private schools, and I don't care what I don't care what teams
they're both doing it. That's what I said. I don't
They're
care
all
what
doing
anybody
it.
says. They're both doing it.
They're all doing it.
The problem I have with
Joe,
it is just
Joe,
transfers
if anybody,
affect
Joe
the
lives
football
in an
team,
area
but
where it's
enrollment is the
worse.
school as a whole.
Yeah.
I mean, Joe, you live in an area where it's almost rampant.
It's rampant in District 3, and that's because
And it's public schools.
Some are public. Yeah, most aren't though, because we can't just send our kid to any public school around here and pay for it. That's not the way it works. Okay. What happens here is you have some lower income schools where the parents move from one district to the other, back to that one, over to this one. And
that's like Aliquippa, right?
And basically what they'll say, what they'll put on the transfer is it's a hardship case. And it really is in a lot of them. It really is. But that shouldn't be any better reason to transfer than I got a better job. I'm going to move my family to a nicer house in a better area. At what point is a transfer a good transfer versus not a good transfer?
Yeah, a legitimate actual move by the family shouldn't affect the transfer rule.
I agree, but
the problem is they'll rent an apartment in another district, or they'll use a aunt or uncle's house, to move their kid over to another address. That's the problem.
And
they're still living in one district, and suddenly I mean, I'm not going to call them out, but Reynolds Wrestling, they have people that don't live in their district that I know specifically because I'm related to some of them that they do not live in the Reynolds district, and they went played for Reynolds football and wrestling, primarily for wrestling.
But that's what
and
drives
they
me
just
crazy.
use
Like,
a
why are
family
you
member's
transferring
address
for wrestling? It's an individual sport. You haven't tried. Why
exactly?
Why is there?
And it was from a
why do
district that
people
was
transfer
actually pretty
for wrestling?
decent.
Matt, do you know the answer to that?
They want to win state championships.
The answer to it is a transfer.
Well, they
is
want
a
the team
transfer.
title.
Is a transfer.
Yeah.
If you're a transfer, you are a transfer. Period.
Yeah, exactly. But it happens where the kid isn't actually moving districts. They're simply claiming an address in another district, an aunt, uncle, grandparent, whatever, and that's how they're getting the new address. And then, but they're not really moving it. To me, a legitimate move is the parents leave one address and they go to another, and they sell or the lease ends for an apartment or a house or whatever at a previous address. That's a legitimate move. I have no problem with that.
None of us disagree with that.
Yeah.
Well, the PIAA does.
Don't disagree.
Yeah, that's a problem. That shouldn't count. Because that's one of the reasons why Aliquippa gets hit so hard is because they have parents that are just moving around apartment to apartment sometimes. They might be in Hopewell's district. They might be in Aliquippa's district. They might be across the river over at Ambridge. They could be anywhere. And boom, suddenly they're counted as a transfer just because they got a different apartment in a slightly different school district.
Okay, but so I'm going to throw the elephant out here on the table. Isn't it odd that all of a sudden they're able to go back to Aliquippa when their kids are in 9th grade?
Hey, there's a reason I wore this shirt tonight because I knew this was going to come up. There it is. The Aliquippa quip.
Yeah,
but
I
yeah,
mean,
but
like, on the other hand, like, and I wanted to say this earlier, but I held on to it. So when you look at this now, like, and you look at the records and everything, speaking of Aliquippa, they like to use the example of the team across the way, Southern Columbia. Okay, so the success factor, the competition formula, and the transfer rules, if they're recruiting at Southern Columbia, and then this is my stump for Southern Columbia, what happened? Like, they should not stop winning, right? Like, what happened? So this, the whole thing, like, talking about the competition formula and the success factor, kind of, Southern Columbia is proving right now that they are just an outstanding program, and it has nothing to do with transfers. Nothing to
potentially,
do with it.
yes.
You have to treat all these schools with the same attitude. Like, I've heard people say Southern Columbia is just a great program. Everybody wants to be there. Everybody wants their kid to play for Jim Roth.
Yeah, success breeds success.
But then when Aliquippa is the team, that they're having the same conversation with Mike Warfield, by all accounts, is an absolutely wonderful man, retired state trooper, the guy that everybody wants their son to look up to play for until he resigned this year. Then they say, oh, no, they're recruiting. Okay, well, why isn't it the same set of rules applied to, or the same opinion or attitude applied to Aliquippa that's applied to Southern
Joe, that's because you have players going out and putting on Twitter, hey, I transferred to Aliquippa, 12 times.
So they
Yeah, but that's because the player might be dumb at doing something like that.
But that's the difference. And Matt will tell you, nobody moves into the Southern Columbia school district. Very rarely do they move in there. Those kids come up through that system. That's the difference.
But see, part of the problem is that we use the 8th to 9th grade cutoff as the magic number for what counts as a transfer and what doesn't. If it's after 9th grade starts, it's a transfer. You know how good a kid's going to be when they're in 5th and 6th grade playing middle school. You know that kid is going to be a star player by the time he hits like 10th or 11th grade.
I'm going to disagree with you.
I will disagree on that, Jay.
I'll disagree too.
Yeah, I'll disagree with you 100% on that one. I've seen many kids. I've actually seen 9th graders get offers who, by their senior year, those offers are non-existent because they just didn't develop. 99% of the time, once they hit 9th grade, you can see something special in an 8th grader But if it
But then
doesn't
that still
transfer,
counts.
but if it doesn't transfer over to ninth grade, then and many times it doesn't transfer over. So I'll disagree with that. But I think the new rules are a good start. I think they're going in the right direction. I would kind of like to see Matt. I'd like to see something in there where if a team is really bad, like a Butler, then let's back them down.
Butler's
like,
not as bad.
or well, they were. They're getting better. So like an Albert Gallatin or somebody that's like bottom of the barrel for 4 years in a row. Let's allow them to drop down unless they're single A. I mean, like I'd like to see that part of the formula as well, where we need to drop this team.
Yeah,
down
the formula
into a
should go
lower
both ways.
classification. But the problem with that is, again, we have districts, and like in District 6, if you're a 2A team, you're dropping down. You're still playing the same teams because you're in a conference that has 1, 2, and 3A teams.
You know what's odd? There's absolutely no rules against 6A teams doing all this stuff. There's rules, but they're unenforceable.
Yeah.
One thing I want to say is, if with the conferences you're in, why do you have to play all those conference games?
Right.
Why
that's what I'm
can't you
saying.
say, like, why can't you say, like, on I'll just use Central Clarion as an example. On September 20th, Central Clarion plays Bradford, right? They win that game 76-13. If you're Central Clarion and you look across to the west and you got Wilmington who's off, why can't Central Clarion say we'd rather play Wilmington rather than Bradford? We know that's going to be a more competitive game on both ends, and allow Bradford to pick up, maybe a lower tier team, somebody they could be competitive.
That would have to be.
Why can't we do that?
Preseason, that would have to be done. It would have to be done preseason.
But that's what I mean.
Yeah, that would be
a lot of this
chaos.
stuff, preseason. That's going to happen. A lot of
it's
these
just not
games
going to happen
you
in the
can
PA
almost call
system.
team
It's just not going to happen. You can't get rid of districts.
There again,
it'll
you
never
have
happen.
Get rid of districts.
I agree with Matt.
I'm saying simply swamp some conference games and say, why not allow teams to play more of a couple more non-conference games, like McDowell. Like, I'll just use the point of McDowell and Cathedral Prep up in District 10. They're still in District 10. They're not leaving District 10. They're going through the District 10 playoffs.
But they don't have as many teams. They don't have as many teams in their conference, so that allows them. So they don't have the full schedule like some of these conferences have. Like the LHAC now, they have the LHAC has 26. So like they're all stuck in there. So like, what do you do? How do you do that? Like, that would be like, for me, if I'm an athletic director, I would tell you, you're out of your mind. Because there's no way we can figure that out. Because like there's 560 athletic directors out there that are going to be like, oh crap, what are we going to do this week?
Let me ask you this, Shane, just so we can entertain this and treat it seriously. How would you go about allowing you just put every head coach? There's 120 teams in District 3. Okay.
Hey, don't talk about the head coaches. Talk about athletic directors, because the head coaches will not be involved.
But the head coaches, they're going to have input. But ultimately, the athletic directors, do you just put them all, lock them all in a room for a weekend? And I'm not being a wise guy here. How do you go about mixing these schedules up and like putting them in a box and shaking them up and going, this makes more sense?
No. My opinion on it is not to do it with every single game. My opinion would be a couple games a year. If you know going in, like I said, I'll just use District 9 as an example because that's what I was talking about. Like, if hey, there's a team out in, say, District 10 in Wilmington that is off on September 20th. If we're Central Clarion, we know before the season begins, we're going to win that game by 70-some points against Bradford, which they did. They won 76-13. Why not say preseason, hey, look, tell District 9, hey, look, let's go and let us schedule Wilmington. That'll give us a more competitive game, and let Bradford have the opportunity to schedule somebody that would allow them to have a more competitive game. Because Wilmington was originally, they were looking for a game. They wanted to play a game that week. They didn't want to be off.
Well, it sounds like a one-off.
It sounds great. Sounds great.
September 20th, and I said, if the schools that already have open dates is the point I'm making. I'm not saying we just revamp everybody's schedule. I said the same thing with schools close to a state line. If somebody has an open date, and someone else has a game against a cupcake opponent, why not let them play the tougher game and allow that school to play somebody more competitive
They went to go out of state.
Yeah, it sounds great, and I agree with you. The problem, though, is it's not much different than the running clock discussion. One team just doesn't want to play another, whether it's halfway through the game or before the game. Youngsville famously back in 2016 or 17 didn't want to play Farrell, but the very next week they played Erie East or whoever. They canceled the game against Farrell knowing they were just going to get hammered. But already said, yeah, next week we're going to play our game as scheduled against the Erie East or whoever.
A varsity game, Jason. It's way different than just canceling a game or having it be 50 points. If both
I agree with that aspect of it, but it's the same.
But they're not going to find
setup.
They're not going to find teams to play. That's the problem.
Yeah, you would have to kind of jumble it up and say, hey, at the start of the season, mark off your schedule. Who do you not want to play on your schedule? And go find somebody else to play.
It's not that. It's not that. Guys, let me hold on. I get it all. But we got to move on, man. We got to move on. I got to be that guy. We got to move on. We're already over. We want to talk about this week's games and we want to talk rankings. So another great discussion that we could have for hours. Maybe we should have like a 3-hour show one of these nights and bring these things on here. But hey, let me take a quick 5-minute break or 3-minute break, and we'll come back and we're going to talk about games this week. All right, thanks, guys. We'll be right back after these messages.
Circle W Sports is the complete all-in-one platform for high school sports, designed by former athletes, coaches, and athletic directors. Circle W Sports gives school and team personnel an easier solution to run their entire athletic departments with the help of these features. League Manager makes creating master schedules a breeze. Configure your divisions, build schedules, track league all-stars, and much, much more. Referee Manager helps assign and track game officials in the same platform. And with RefPay, your officials can get paid within hours instead of days or weeks. Enjoy live scoring and statistical services through our Performance Tracker and Stat Tracker apps. Learn how to track your workout or camp and combine statistics in real time. Then create any type of report after your results are tallied. The Stat Tracker app helps keep your fans involved, whether they are in the stands or at home, with live in-game stats. For more information, visit CircleWSports.com, the official online platforms of PA Football News and the PSFCA Big 33.
Today's broadcast of the 38th Annual Lesser Lumber Classic is being brought to you by Snappy's Convenience Store and J.J. Powell Home and Commercial Heating and Supplies. Snappy's is a local chain of convenience stores throughout central Pennsylvania, operating 12 locations from Lewistown to Clearfield and beyond. J.J. Powell has been servicing customers in the Clearfield Center and Mifflin counties for over 70 years. Snappy's has a large selection of freshly prepared food and drinks guaranteed to satisfy your mealtime needs. J.J. Powell offers the area's best heating oil price protection program with monthly payments and no cap or fees.
What's up, State College, Pennsylvania? It's me, Jordan Felice, and I'm so excited because I am headed your way on the Everything Good Tour. We're going to be in your city on November 3rd at Christ Community Church. It's going to be such an amazing night. I'm bringing my friend Joseph O'Brien with me. Go grab your tickets, grab your family, grab everybody. Come hang with us, jordanfelice.com. We'll see you there. 'Cause everything
everything good comes from you.
At PAFootballNews.com, we've got you covered. If you're looking for the best coverage of high school football in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, check out PAFootballNews.com. From schedules to rankings, game coverage to Friday night scoreboard, live streams, and more, PA Football News is the one-stop shop for everything high school football in Pennsylvania. Follow us on Twitter at PA Football News and visit us at PAFootballNews.com. We got you covered.
Does it round on the region?
All right, welcome back to the State of PA Football. I'm Billy Splain, the owner of PA Football News, and what a great night we've had, and we've talked about some subjects, and I want to, I appreciate all of everybody, all your opinions and everything, and it's been a great show, and times it got heated, but we got some big football games coming up this week. We got to talk about. Ain't that right? So let's talk about them. What do we got, guys? What's on the schedule? Where are you guys heading? What are the big games you guys want to talk about?
I'll go, Billy. District 3 and beyond here. Central Dauphin East took their first loss of the year last week against State College. They play at McDevitt. So 2 1-loss teams.
Our guy Q-Tip will be there. Quincy, he's got that game covered.
Harrisburg at Central Dauphin. That's about as big of a rivalry as Lion versus Antelope at this point. But it's 2 teams that have been kind of stalwarts in this area for
they're
decades.
Going separate directions, though.
Yeah. Central Dauphin, I don't think they're totally going in separate directions. They got like 8 seniors this year. It's just one of those seasons like Southern Columbia where the stars don't always line up. But Harrisburg's going to be angry. I feel bad for Central Dauphin. Susquehanna Township at Trinity playing for the Mid-Penn Capital.
That's a big one.
No, not the Capital now. They moved the Colonial Division title. And then outside of Mid-Penn, but still in District 3, drum roll, please, Twin Valley versus Lampeter Strasburg. And then I also had written down Central York at Archbishop Hoban. So there's kind of my 5, 3 within my own
Those are big ones.
Yeah, they're good ones right there. Thank you.
Good ones.
Yep.
What do you got, guys? What are we talking about? Where are we going?
I'm going to head out to Pine Richland at North Allegheny. I know that's not a league game. And if you ask some people, this is the difference between Western PA football and Eastern PA football for me.
This was a good one. Matt told me this yesterday.
So that's not a big game in Western PA because it's not for a league title. But in Eastern PA, those teams want to win every game they can win. But in Western PA, they're looking at district titles, Whitfield titles, and maybe they get excited for state titles. But apparently PR at NA is not a big game. So, but I'm going. I think it's a huge game.
I think it's going to tell us a lot about what's going on between those 2 teams.
Yeah, I like Aliquippa at Montour. I think Montour's got a shot at winning that game this week. And I think it might wake up a lot of people in the state in 4A as well.
Yeah, and I know I sent Jason to the Aliquippa game last week. This is probably the one I should have sent him to.
Yeah, there's some other nice games around the state. I mean, those District 3 games are nice. I like there's Garnet Valley and Springfield and North Penn and CB West in District 1 too. I'm sure Willie's looking at those games.
Yeah, I wanted to jump in there with that Aliquippa game. After seeing what they did to Blackhawk in the first half and just how easy it was for them, I don't see Montour sticking with them in this week. They might, but I think Aliquippa is going to win, and it's going to be by a couple scores.
How about this one? Shamokin at Loyalsock.
Yeah. Shamokin had a big win last week at Lewisburg at Shamokin. This week, Loyalsock has a
they're coming off a thumping from they're coming off a beat down from Danville.
Yep. So
How
they got
another one over right down the road. Scranton Prep, 7-1, 3A at Jersey Shore. That's a big game, guys.
Huge game.
Huge game. Yep.
This is big game hunting, gentlemen. Big game hunting.
And like Matt touched on, down here in District 1, there was several big games. He mentioned the game that I'll be at Friday night, Garnet Valley at Springfield. But also Friday night, we have Central Butt Southwood taking on the Academy, North Penn, CB West, Phoenixville hosting Pottsgrove in a big time pack contest. Upper Morelands visiting Plymouth White Moss.
Wow, District 1 has some games. Maybe you should be down there this week, Matt.
I'm gonna go actually Saturday. I'm gonna be at Owen J. Roberts at Spring Ford. And I'm putting OJR on. I'm putting OJR on upset alert this week.
Oh, look at that.
We're bringing Matt. We're bringing Matt to the east again. We're bringing him to Philly again.
Hey, let's go up to District 10, Shane. How about Titusville and Sharon? Titusville's had a nice season, but that's over, right?
They have, yeah, but they're just not on the level of the Hickories and the Sharons. I like that team. I like the Coble kid at running back becoming the all-time leading rusher. Nice season for them, but they're just a step behind where Sharon and Hickory are. I think, and interestingly enough, the game I'll be going to with McDowell and Steubenville. I mean, Steubenville's sitting at 8-0. McDowell, they've had a couple of wins against some pretty good football teams from Ohio the last couple of weeks. 2 of the last 3 weeks, beating Villa Angeles St. Joseph's, Austintown Fitch on a touchdown in the I believe with 1 second to go to win that one.
And you got Blaze Myers. Blaze Myers tearing it up, man. The quarterback.
He does. I believe he became the all-time leader in passing touchdowns. I'm not sure if he's there in
50.
yards yet. But that's exciting one. And also General McLean and Cathedral Prep. We know McLean can score. Can they play enough defense? And can the Ramblers start scoring some points? That's been their Achilles heel. You would think the consensus is Cathedral Prep probably breaks their schneid in this game, but who knows? I mean, I love the Zeitz twins at General McLean. They're fun to watch. They throw the ball all over the field. That could be an exciting game too to see, to see what happens in that one.
Back to District 3, we have Conestoga Valley, Exeter Township. 2 8-0 teams battling it out. And here's another one that I think probably picks Matt's interest. Conrad Weiser 8-0 at Cocalico 6-2. Is this where Cocalico turns it around and starts to roll like they did last year?
I saw Cocalico against Lampeter Strasburg, and LS obviously is a really nice team this year. So sometimes you don't always see the strength of Cocalico against LS in a game like that, but I like Cocalico in that matchup. Even though the other team's undefeated, this might be the end of the road for that.
Northwestern Lehigh at Tamaqua, Brian.
Yeah, Tamaqua coming off of that loss last week to Lehigh, surprisingly. So they come in with 2 losses. And, of course, Northwestern Lehigh undefeated, our #1 team in 3A. Again, for the team so close last year, they got to the finals. Should be a good one. Then you got Southern Lehigh and Saucon Valley playing.
Just gonna say that, yeah. Who would have thought that would have been a big game? Who had Saucon Valley going 7-1 this year?
Yeah, and that could set up the big one for next week if Southern Lehigh and Northwestern win, because they will play each other in week 10.
It's been a weird year. You guys we all know that it's been a crazy year. So some of these teams that we're rattling off have big games this weekend. We're like, where did that come from? DuBois Broccoli would have been a good game up in District 9, but that kind of fell apart. I'm going over to Bald Eagle area. Bellwood Andis at Bald Eagle. Bellwood, of course, 2 weeks ago got smoked by Bishop Guilfoyle. I think this is a better game. Bald Eagle area is not what we thought they were going to be, but you just never know. How Bonner Prendy has Cardinal O'Hara. O'Hara is not that bad of a team this year, Willie.
No, they're not, and that's why there's certainly no love lost. I mean, I'm gonna have a love myself, and I had some relatives go to Bonner, and that's a rivalry that's definitely on the bucket list for anybody like Matt who likes to travel. If they get a chance, I highly recommend them coming down and getting to watch a Bonner O'Hara game one year. It's definitely a great rivalry.
Brian, there's a big game down your way, or not down your way, but down your old way in District 11. That Freedom game is huge.
With Easton coming back, they've been down a couple of years now. They were 3-7 last year. Now they only have 1 loss, and that was to CB West in the first game. Freedom rolling again. They're undefeated with Coach Reuter's got that team rolling. That should be a huge game this weekend.
Shane, here's an interesting one in District 7, Shane. This is an interesting one. Monessen 7-1 at Canevin at 5-2. That might be an interesting game.
It very well could be, and I think Monessen's another. Where I think Canevin, they're going to be a legitimate playoff team this year. I think we all know that they're going to be in it. Looking at again, when you look at Monessen, same type of thing. I mean, 35-14 loss, I believe, to Fort Cherry. I think that was the final in that game. not an overwhelming blowout. That was a game kind of when it happened, you're thinking, man, maybe Fort Cherry, well, like what happened? Should that have been mercy rule? Should they have won greater? But we've seen we've seen them. They had a big win, over Burgettstown. I mean, they struggled a little bit, I think, against Chartiers Houston, but like you say, Monessen, they got the kid's name's eluding me right now, but I know he's a big time player for them. And yeah, that is an interesting game. No question.
I think it is. I think it is. Yeah. I mean, like, you just never know what's going to happen in those games. And you said that, the final score, the game was closer, because if you're anything like our guy Matt here, he's got his phone buzzing 9 times out of 10 times every half second, because he's trying to watch every game and the game he's at, and he's like, man, my phone's buzzing off the hook. So us big time, we're all paying attention to it. I don't know how you are, Joe, but I mean, I know most of us all have our phones set on tell me what's going on right now. Is that a setting on an iPhone? Can we do that?
Hey, another game that I'm going to be at Saturday night is Roman at St. Joe's Prep at Franklin Field in Philly. I'm looking forward to that. I've never seen a game at Franklin Field. I don't think Roman does much against St. Joe's Prep, but it's a pretty cool setting for 2 Philly schools.
Yeah, I mean, Roman Catholic, what do we think of those guys? I mean, are they contenders in 5A or are they pretenders?
Contenders.
Amen.
I would agree with Joe. I think, especially being that to get out of District 12, they don't got to worry about Imhotep this year. But if there's the year that a team from District 1 can take the District 12 team down to 5, I think it could be this year. I mean,
Strathaven.
They got to get past Strathaven and Chester first, right?
Strathaven and Chester, Garnet Valley, Westchester Rusting, Springfield Delco. I could go on and on about teams.
That's a pretty good. That's a pretty nice gauntlet. You're saying Roman Catholic can just skate right through.
That's like 5A in District 7. 5 legitimate teams.
Yeah.
I think what happened is Imhotep moved to 6A out of District 12, and we got excited about Roman because they don't have to play TEP in the playoffs. And what happened was District 7 blew up in 5A.
Well, we also were thinking Aliquippa was going to be 5A, and we were like, "Whoa, this is going to be insane."
Well, imagine.
Can you imagine if Aliquippa was 5A?
Exactly. Just have a Whitfield tournament and give them the trophy.
That would be. I mean, we would definitely have 5 teams in our top 10 from District 7 if Aliquippa was in.
Hey, Billy, and panel of experts. Are we going to have any new teams this year, at least in the finals? Now, we know Troy, okay? It has a very good chance. And they're new. Let's face it. They're not like a perennial, because we know Southern Columbia is probably not. But other than that.
You mean new, like as in never been to the championship?
Yeah, just not a
regular.
Yeah, like it's going to. Clareton's probably has a chance. Guilfoyle and the whole way up.
Northwestern Lehigh might
there's one. Very good. There's one.
I mean, LaSalle's only been there twice.
LaSalle.
They've only been there twice, right?
Anybody that gets there besides St. Joe's Prep is kind of new-ish,
Oh, I think LaSalle beats. I personally,
like last year, we had 4
think LaSalle
repeats.
gets past St. Joe's Prep.
We had 4 repeats last year. It's not uncommon to have 4 or 5 repeats. Well, it's probably uncommon to have 5, but.
Well, I mean, we know in 6A, we don't know, but we're pretty sure that it could be really mixed up right now. We know Harrisburg's probably not going to go back. So there's going to be somebody else.
Harrisburg had no chance from the beginning.
So
they had no chance.
We know
from the
in
beginning.
5A, you've got teams like Peters Township, Strathaven could pull through there. Chester could make their first appearance ever. Chester's a very good football team that could be there. Upper St. Clair could be back. They have when was the last, Matt? When did they win their championship? Upper St. Clair. They were, or did they not? They opted out, right? They were the team that opted out when Render was playing or coaching. And Pittsburgh Central Catholic played Cedar Cliff at Beaver Stadium, right? Is that was Upper St. Clair.
92.
Yeah, it's been a long time for Upper St. Clair, and they're pretty excited about it. But I mean, we didn't really talk about this, but that simulation we ran actually has Peters Township beating them, in a 1 game in a 7-game series. So yeah, I think it is so tight in 5A in the Whitfield. You can't really. Pine Richland's in there. It's crazy in 5A.
I'm going to give you a team in 4A, Bill, that might surprise people. Bonner, even though they got smoked this week by LaSalle, we can't count out Bonner.
So yeah, we definitely can't count Bonner out.
I don't think you forget about Thomas Jefferson.
Yeah,
Like,
TJ, and like I'm not sold on Aliquippa anymore this year. How about you, Matt?
I mean, I'm wearing their shirt, so it's tough for me to say they're going to get beat. But I mean, I think the Quips are super powerful. Let's see what they do against Montour this week.
Yeah.
That's a decent game that they haven't. It's a quality opponent. And then I think TJ is a nice opponent for them in the playoffs.
Yeah, but we literally could end up, like, we're talking about that. We could literally end up with the perennial bridesmaid back at the state championship games, Joe, and that's why I'm missing.
Yeah, they look like a team. At least they did last week. That could 1 game at a time grind their way back there.
I mean, dude, it makes you wonder: do they have anything for a Bonner or a PJP? They just licked Twin Valley, but we don't know what Twin Valley is. This is only like the 3rd year of Twin Valley's resurgence.
Right.
So, and Brian, I'm sorry, but we're not talking about those District 11 teams. And then, it gets kind of muddy here in in 4A too, with Shamokin and Clearfield, in the picture. And ladies and gentlemen, if you're watching, those of you who are watching out there right now, power queens, baby. Look out for Dallas, the Mountaineers. All right. They had a slow start. They had to get some people in place, but here they are. We got them in. They're 5-3. They're gonna probably win out, and into the playoffs we go. And they snuck up on us last year, right, Matt?
Mm-hmm.
I love that upset. I just did because I like upsets, but man, I just don't like those There's no way McDevitt would have lost by 46 in the state chat. Not a chance. It's a great story.
Matchups
Dallas
are
was
different.
that Dallas was a great
So you
story.
asked. Here's your answer: 3A. Northwestern Lehigh, Danville, Imani, and Sharon are the top 4 right now in our countdown.
Great answer. And then Troy in 2A. Yeah. So
And
yeah,
then Troy, Riverside, Central Clarion, Seton LaSalle, Schuylkill Haven. Schuylkill Haven hasn't been there since like 1989, I think, is the last time their only state championship. Richland, Cambria Heights, that whole list, like you could go right down 1 through 10. Farrell is the only team that has been in a state championship game. Now, Elwood City has been competitive way back in the past, like in 1948 when they lost to Denora in the Whitfield Championship. That's the last time they were very good.
I can't believe you remembered that.
and you think they all
Wasn't at that game?
I may have been in another life. Yeah. No, actually, you know why I know that? I wrote a story about Denora last year. That was one of our greatest team stories. So that's out there too. But that's why I know that. And then you can even dip down into the 2A honorable mentions. And you got River Valley, Sharpsville, South Allegheny, South Park. And then there's a team they may ruin. You never know what's going to happen. They could ruin Joe's balloon and pop it, and Steel High Spire goes back to the state title game somehow.
Oof. Somehow they're pretty good again. I mean, and there's a lot of different faces. We had Andrew Irby coach.
Yeah, but they're in the same league though.